Hey, this is Daryl from the Jackson Fishing Team again, and this week's fly, like I said last week, we're gonna start getting into some saltwater patterns for probably the next few weeks, and we're gonna take the fly patterns out of this book here, Fly Patterns by Fishing Guides. You know, their fishing guides always tie something that's simple, that work. You know, they're not complicated flies to tie. And on there. So the fly that we're going to do out of here today is going to be Tom Carver's Redfish Magic. And it'll be, as the name alludes, it's going to be good for redfish, you know, maybe tarpon. Not really tarpon, but who knows. A small one might take it. He developed this fly for the Mosquito Lagoon area around Titusville, Merritt Island area. You know, probably the Banana River on there. So I'll shut up here and we'll get to untying it, and hopefully you'll appreciate this fly and give it a Tom's Redfish Magic that we're going to tie. It probably imitates a shrimp pattern, maybe a small crab on the bottom, but I don't know, probably even work here in Charleston, who knows. You have to tie it up and give it a whirl up here now that spring is coming, and more people are going to get out fishing on the flats or from a boat, and we're going to go ahead and tie one up. The hook that we're going to use is a Mustad curved streamer hook, a C70 SAP in a size 4 in there. And you know, I like to, again, you know me, I like to debarb these hooks. I don't want to get them stuck in me, and makes it easier for releasing that fish, the redfish, a little bit. Go ahead and put that in here. And the thread I'm going to use is a tan 140 Denier. And we'll just start that right back behind the hook eye. And we'll take it back to where the barb of the hook used to be. Cut off our tag end. And we'll take this back and we'll tie in our dumbbell eye. And I'm just going to measure it to make sure I'm not too far to the eye there. It's about right there. And I'm using painted lead eyes, yellow with black pupil, and size small. So it doesn't have a lot of splash when it's hitting. Might not spook the fish. And we'll take a look to make sure that it's perpendicular to the hook. I'm looking down this way to make sure that it's kind of level there, so it looks like it swims just right. Use a little super glue, or in this case I've got some Zap-A-Gap that I've been using lately. The fly tires super glue, and we'll put some more wraps around this. helicopter around to tighten that up. And take this back to where we ended the thread over by where the barb used to be, the end of the, or maybe even between the point and where the barb is. The next material we're going to use is going to be some unique hair in tan. It's kind of like a monofilament or some kind of synthetic. The fly doesn't get very heavy, or it doesn't soak a lot of water. And but just like tying a clouser and using deer hair, a little goes can go a long way. And since it's a man-made product or a synthetic, I'm going to kind of pull on these a little bit to give it a taper. On there. And we want this to be approximately 2 inches, and my vise from back where the thread is to where that spring clip is, material clip, is roughly about 2 inches. So I'm just going to use that as a quick measurement. And then I'm going to kind of pick up and put one curve under there to help lock it in place. And trim off this excess. And put this to the side for another fly in there. And next material we're going to use is I'm going to use some Midge size flash in root beer color to kind of match the body material a little bit that we put it on. And Midge is a little bit smaller than regular crystal flash. You're going to want about maybe roughly six strands of it on the right or on the left side, the closest side to you or the far side, whichever way you want to look at that. And that's about, I don't know. I'm going to wet it to make it easy to manage, and then I'm going to kind of put it underneath the thread, line it up to make it even, keep it on the far side. And then I'm going to bring that end over to my side of the hook. That way it's dividing that streamer material. And I don't want it to really be too much longer than what that streamer material is. I'm going to trim that off right there. And then I'll bring the thread back. Back there. The next material I'm going to use is going to be some Estaz Standard from Cascade in root beer. In this case it says opal root beer. And so I'm just going to need a little bit because I'm just going to wind it up behind the eyes. And again, if you think you see a a direction of how that Estaz is laid out. You know, make sure that it's pointing to the back of the hook, but in some cases you might not even notice it. But, you know, kind of look at it. And then we're going to wrap towards the eye of the hook, or yeah, the eye of the hook where the dumbbell eyes are. Creating a body. And I think I'm going to need to put a little hackle pliers on there. And then we'll tie that off. And then trim off that excess. There. Kind of tie in that loose end. And the next material we're going to use is we're going to put a little natural Grizzly Hackle in there behind the eyes. And I'm going to tie it in by the base of the quill. Trim off that stem. And I'm going to give it 2 wraps behind the barbell eyes. They don't want a lot of hackle. This is just going to be kind of like maybe making legs for the shrimp pattern. That's what it is, maybe legs for the crab. That's 1, and then 2. And we'll trim off that little bit of hackle there. And try to draw this back a little bit. And advance the thread to the front. We're going to turn them over and we're going to kind of remove the fibers from the hackle away from the hook, because it's going to impede maybe a little bit of the hook gap. Next we're going to put a weed guard on, because it just might need a weed guard on there, and we're going to use some Mason hard type mono, 30 pound I'm going to use, and it's going to be I'm going to fold this in half. And I'm going to lay it in like this on top of the hook and leave a little bit of leave that material up there to on there, and I'll put a couple wraps in between the barb and that there. And then I'm going to pull that down and make sure that those two prongs, I don't know if you can get that just right, where it's covering the point right there. And then we'll give it a couple whip finishes. Trim that off, and you don't want to use your scissors, but we're gonna trim off the monofilament just a little bit higher than the gap of the hook, so whatever excess is there. On that part. And then we'll put some UV on there to protect those threads. And some on the bottom. Get my UV light and cure the UV. I'm using a thin UV, so it'll soak into the threads and maybe help keep in that weed guard. And then the next thing we're going to do, or the last thing, is I'm going to use a brown Copic, or you can use a Sharpie, and we're going to put some bars on the fly, and I'm just going to leave it in the vise, you know, like this, and try to put 3 on there. I'm gonna rotate it over and then the marks, I should be able to see the marks and kind of put right on top of the ones that bled through a little bit, and that's giving some barring to the fly, and there we have it. That's Tom Carter's Redfish Magic, and hopefully it'll be magic for you on the redfish this spring. Alright. Hopefully you'll give this fly a try. Tie up a few. If you're down in Florida, you know, it's what's designed for that area. I'm sure it'll work here in Charleston, and we'll find out. I'll share some pictures if I manage to catch a redfish on it. I'll be trying this fly out. Alright, we'll see you on the water. Bye.